Okay, amazing. Okay, so here is the story. So we're continuing on now with Mashiach. We're coming to a second part in the history of Mashiach, and that is this concept, which is not such an easy one, which is called the resurrection of the dead, the concept of Trias Hamesim. Now, it's a serious concept, like it seems like, wow, like it's almost like high sci-fi, like it seems like so out of our realm. But the reality is the Torah tells you that it is such an important concept that you have to believe in, that it's one of the 13 principles of faith, right? And if you do not believe in this concept that one time there will be this resurrection of the dead, then you are missing something in your basic belief in Judaism. So, when I think about this, I'm almost like laughing, because the irony, like as it is, people have a very hard time believing in this concept of life after life. Like we're studying so much about it and the whole idea of what happens to the soul after it goes. But now I'm adding on another whole dimension. Okay, now I'm telling you, I also want you to believe, right, that even after you've passed on and you're in this world, what we call the world of the souls, right? And you're there, you're enjoying your reward, you're there with God, but you have no body, right? Your body is still remains in the earth. You're up there in what everyone likes to call the heavenly realm. Like everybody's up in heaven and they're comfortable and things are serene and they have the understanding and there's no more questions and there's no more of this battle between the body and the soul. Like the soul finally understands its mission. It's relieved. I did what I had to do. I spent my 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 10, 20, 100 years, 108 years on earth, 114 years and a half on earth. I've spent it and I did what I had to do. And I went through my rehab in Gehenna, and now I'm comfortable. And here's where it is. Okay, and I'm sitting in this Gan Eden, and sometimes the Almighty lets me see what's going on with my family, and I'm able to pray for them and advocate for them. But meanwhile, down on earth, there is a destiny to the world. Like it's an interesting idea because we look at ourselves as being planted here, right? And we're all planted here. And we have our own journey on a personal level, like, one Gail Michalowicz, one Barb, one Suzanne, one Amita, one Talia, one Jackie, one Sandy, like just one of us, never to be replaced again, never to have, no one else will have my fingerprint or my imprint on the world. It's just mine and mine alone. But there is something called the collective imprint. It's like we all work in a factory. We're all on the same factory. We're all trying to build tikkun. We're all trying to correct and make this incredible, perfect world. And everyone is doing their little bit, like in the Ford plant, right? This guy takes care of the brake and this guy puts the screwdriver into the steering wheel and this guy, do you know what I mean? And that's what's happening. But at the end, there's supposed to be a product that's produced by the efforts of all of us in the last 6,000 years of history. Okay, that end is called Moshiach, right? Does everybody understand, right? And everybody agrees. So at the end, there's this phenomena called Moshiach. How does he finally make the perfect correction for the world? Unmute and tell me, how does he finally make the perfect correction for the world? Everybody's thing is broken. Okay. Come on, girls. Okay, what's Mashiach? Leora, Jeff, I'm going to pick on you. Okay. Quick. Unmute. Come on.
Oh, don't pick on me. Don't pick on me.
In the end, what is Mashiach doing? He's going to end up.
We're all going to be close to God.
Yes, I love you. I knew you could do it. Okay, there's all going to be this revelation by Yom Ha'u Yeshem Echad U'Shmo Echad. On that day, the entire universe, like a very, very poor parable I'm going to give you. Do you remember in Lion King when whatever the baby lion is born and they hold him up and all the animals and everybody's dancing around and it's like, oh, the king of the lions is here. That's what's going to happen. Okay. It'll be that moment where everybody is going to finally prostrate themselves to Hashem. Okay, the whole world will say Hashem echad u'shmo echad, only one God. Do you understand it? Like all over, everyone coming to that understanding. So once that happens, the Torah tells you there's another destiny to history. Okay, there's another event that's going to take place. And that event is called the resurrection of the dead. So that's what we have to understand. What does that mean? Like I say, resurrection of the dead. Unmute somebody. Tell me what you think that means to you.
That the dead come alive.
Yeah. So, like you watch these movies that are pretty spooky, like the hand comes out, like all these different things are like, okay. It's like, right? That's what we say. We say like you go, and I'm going to give you the sources in the Torah where this comes from. And when you look at Yecheskel, like the Navi, they have this, he had a whole prophecy of the resurrection of the dry bones, all right? And they really say that, some people say it was a vision, but most people say it was something that actually took place. And we really strongly believe. So the question is,
the whole body or?
Yes, this is what you're going to hear now. Like it's I feel like we've gone into the Zohar, you know what I mean? Like we're really giving different kinds of classes. Like, we're learning subjects in a way that we all kind of avoided. You just took it for granted. Like, okay, resurrection of the dead, whatever. Okay, Moshiach, whatever. Like we didn't really get into what is that defined for our own lives, right? And what we can say, like, look, Emir Hashem, may God bless us and we get to see the Mashiach. But you do know, regardless, that you tried to bring him. So you are part of the story. Do you know what I mean? Like you've been on the factory line, right? Everybody here is really trying to bring Mashiach. Everybody here is yearning for this. Everybody here understands when you look at the world today that we are in a very scary place. Every one of us. There's not one of us who goes, we love this idea. I can hardly wait to be an in it, think that, what, none of us are embracing what's going on out there, right? So all of us are waiting for this, like, and what do we want to see the world have? Clarity more than anything else. So that's why we're learning this stuff. So the resurrection of the dead. Now, I remember once a long time ago, I was listening to Rabbi Tauber of blessed memory. He was like my most favorite rabbi, if I had to say, he was. So I remember listening to him and he gave a shiur on the resurrection of the dead and this concept of, when the souls, in the world to come and this and that. And it was in Toronto. He actually mentioned that he gave the shiur in Toronto. He gives the shiur in Toronto. And he's talking to the audience and he's saying, when you get married, it's like a really serious commitment because when you're resurrected, right, you will be resurrected with the person who you married. You will live in the world to come with the person who you married. Okay. And then, with the story, the shiur was over. He said, anybody who has questions, please line up and come and I'll answer your questions. And this one woman came, an elderly woman, and she looked terrible. She looked like a ghost. And she said to him, I had a happy life until I listened to your shiur. I had a happy life. So he said, what are you talking about? So he said, I didn't have a great marriage. I never had a great marriage. I stayed for my children. And I really felt, I did a good thing. I did a mitzvah. And you know what? Finally, when he passes away and I pass away, I get rid of him. She she's like starts to cry. So Rabbi Tauber, he says to her, no, wait a minute. Because of all the effort you put in, and because of this great mitzvah that you did, and because you stood and you tried your best to make your husband the best you could be, when you will be living in this world to come, Hashem will give you the husband, that husband in this world to come will be the person that you really wanted. It's an interesting idea. So, you know what I mean? Like sometimes like we may think, oh, we're going to fall short or I'm going to be resurrected. Like what'll I be resurrected as? Like, what? You know what I mean? But the point is that what will be resurrected is the best you. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's not like we're going to come back again with this problem and again with that problem and again with this problem. You will have gone, okay, in a minute, Talia, I know I see your hand and I'm so sorry. Just wait 1 second. You will have gone to the Olam HaEmes. You will have gone to the world of truth, the world of neshamas. And when you are there, remember what we said in the class yesterday, we're talking about what happens to the soul after death. And we said you travel through these 11 places. And one of them was, no matter who you are going to the rehab center. The question is, how much rehab will you want, right? You will need, not how much you want, how much will you need? So some of us, like we said, some people are tzaddikim, great tzaddikim, they're still going to pass through the Gehenna door, right? But they'll go right out and the temperature will be just fine. And others might have a hot flash or two, okay? Right, that's what we said. All right. So once you've had that hot flash or two, you will be the best that you can be. So when you are going to be resurrected, again, you're not coming back to battle. It's not that we're coming back body and soul and they're at odd ends. It's not like the body's going to be telling you, you should be doing this. Let's go, have a party and take drugs. Okay. It's not going to be, or eat 5 cakes. It's not going to be doing that anymore. Do you see what I mean? It's a body and a soul, the way Adam Harishon should have been, the way the first man was created. He was created to live body and soul in a beautiful garden, right? Right? He was not created to have the evil inside of him. He wasn't created for that. And that's what we will go back to. And that body and soul will last forever. Adam Harishon, right? When they ate and they made the mistake, and it's not even when they ate and they made the mistake. Honestly, that's not the boo-boo. What was the biggest boo-boo? They didn't
acknowledge what they did.
Say that again, Leora?
They didn't acknowledge what they did.
Yes. If they would have just done tshuva, the biggest mistake was that they didn't take responsibility, that they looked around and they kept blaming everybody else. I was with somebody today and that's what they were doing. Like they kept blaming everything in their life. If I wouldn't have listened to this one and they didn't let me do this and they didn't let me make a decision. Take that all, I told her, and put it in a garbage bag. Okay? Because I can spend all day going and blaming everyone else. But the bottom line, who is responsible for you?
You.
Yeah. That's it. Okay. So it's not going to pay. Right. You're not going to go anywhere with this stuff. This is all garbage. Yes, you didn't have a perfect mother. Yes, you didn't have a perfect house. Yes, you didn't have perfect money. Yes, you were born, with I don't know what. Okay. With a big nose. You're right. You were. Okay. There's nothing we could do. You're right. But the blame game is going to get you anywhere. Okay.
Gail,
So
can you hear me?
yeah.
Yeah. I'm really trying to follow what you're saying.
Okay. So you know what, Gina, I'm just going to continue. And then after the class, call me and like last time, and we'll discuss whatever it is you can't get. Okay.
I'm really getting it. I'm trying so hard.
Good. So try, and I really wishing you the best here, but call me after, okay?
Maybe it's because I've got a flu. I don't know.
I think when you have a flu, it's really tough. Believe me, when I had the flu, I was so out of it. Okay, so God willing, after the class, okay, sweetie? Okay, we'll talk later. Thank you. Okay, so Talia, just for a second, you had a quick question, so let's ask the quick question.
Two quick questions. First of all, what if you don't want to get resurrected? Do you have a choice?
Okay, a very interesting idea. So I would say like this, I'm going to go through it and you're going to see that not everyone will be resurrected. Okay, so not everyone will. Okay, so I'm assuming that someone who would kind of not want to is probably in the category of somebody who wouldn't. Okay, and second,
what if you're single, you die single?
Don't worry about it because we have no idea yet. Like when it comes to this resurrection, it's very multiple because we don't, there's a concept of reincarnation and different souls, and so we're going to get there. Okay, so all good questions. Okay, very good questions. All right, so we got up to this part, so let me just see exactly what's going to happen. Yeah, so when does this resurrection happen? So it goes in this order. Okay, so how do you know who Moshiach is? One of the biggest notifiers that this person is Moshiach is that the third temple will be rebuilt. Okay, so they say really there is a third temple waiting up in heaven, right? So it's almost like when Mashiach comes, he will have the energy, he will be the source, a miracle will happen, and the third temple will come down whole and be rebuilt and last forever. Okay. Thank the Almighty. You could only take so much exile and so much destruction. And we're really near the end of the story. So please, Hashem, just give us the koyach to finish it till the end.
Amen.
Okay. Yeah. So now there comes the temple. The temple will be rebuilt. The Jewish people will be gathered back to the land of Israel. The world will acknowledge Hashem. It will come to peace. It will be a beautiful time, okay? It will be a very good time. They say, which is very interesting into this story, 40 years later, the resurrection will begin, okay? So there'll be two parts to this story of resurrection. So the question is, who will merit it, and who will be in that resurrection? Okay. Oh, sorry. I made a mistake. Please rewind. Okay. So what does it happen? 40 years later, the resurrection will happen, like I said, and who will be in that resurrection? The basic population, good people from many, many years ago. Who will be resurrected earlier? Who are the people who will be resurrected earlier? So the Zohar tells us the people who will be, so to speak, in the front of the line are those people. Okay, let me just get this right.
Maybe Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov.
Yes, for sure. Beautiful. No. Sorry. They are not in the front of the line. You think so, they're not. Just wait. I'm so sorry. Please give me a minute just to take a look. Okay, because there's two. There's going to be two resurrections, one in the beginning of the days of Mashiach, right? And then some people who will get resurrected later. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so who are the people who are going to be considered tzaddikim? Who are the people who will be in this front of the line? Who is considered tzaddikim? Not only people who did good things, but that people who learned Torah. Learning Torah is a very important reality because you don't know how to do good things. Like, to be honest, like a lot of us like to make assumptions like, I'm such a good person, so I march for pro-abortion because I really feel everybody should have a choice. I'm such a good person. Torah would tell you that's not a good person. You have to know what the laws of when you can have an abortion and when you can't have an abortion, and you do abortion when you're not supposed to do abortion. It's really like murder. So it's not just, this is really cool. I made a boo-boo. I slept with my boyfriend, and it's not time for us. And so let's just get rid of this. No, that's not, you know what I mean? Like, that's not, okay. When one of my babies, I was in, I think it was Mount Sinai Hospital, and the person I was next to was 14, and she gave birth to a baby, but she had already aborted one when she was 13. Do you know what I'm trying to say? These are not good things. Okay, that's right. So that's not chesed and cuteness and all this kind of garbage. It's not. So Torah tells you who will come back, who are tzaddikim, people who know Torah. They know what morality is. They know how to live life. They've been learning and studying, and they worked hard, and they put their kishkas in to understand what God's definition is between right and wrong, and true and false, and good and bad, and being close to him and not. Those people, it's a beautiful idea, they will come back. All right. And anyone who helped support Torah, let's say you couldn't really, you weren't sitting and learning 3,000 hours a day, right? Not everybody is going to be the Chavetz Chaim, but people who supported Torah, honored Torah, tried to learn whatever they could. And that includes women. Okay. That includes women who supported their families and who also took the initiative to learn Torah. Okay. Who else will be resurrected right at the beginning? Right? When you're going to have to look at from which region in the world, land of Israel. Okay, remember we learned that yesterday, right? The very first place will be Har HaZeisim, right? We said like you try to get dirt from Har HaZeisim, right? So we said the people in the land of Israel. It's interesting, right at that beginning part. So first will come these tzaddikim and the people from the land of Israel, and then exactly what Amita said. Then will come Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov. I could really imagine it. Why? Because they say first you're having a family reunion. You make sure the family's there. Then the Bupi and Zaidi come to shed the nachas. Okay, so that they can get the nachas of what is going on. So that's like a very, very beautiful idea. Okay, now there's a concept which is very interesting, that even when this resurrection begins, let's say you're a person who never passed on, there's a concept that everyone will have to pass away for a fleeting moment. For a fleeting moment, everyone will have to experience death so that they will be resurrected. Okay, so it's probably like gazillions of near-death experiences, okay? And then people will come back. Okay, all right. Now, why is that? Because there's a pasuk in Bereshis that says, "You came from the dust, and you will turn to the dust." Okay. There's another way. Like, listen very carefully to this, which I thought was very, very outstanding. It doesn't necessarily mean all of us will have to pass away. Again, whenever you're learning Torah that is like this, you're learning the different levels. All right. So another way of facing death, does anybody know another way of facing death? Is to be a very humble person. You kind of kill your ego. The kind of person who walks around with humility, the Torah tells you, if they're very humble and they happen to live, they're born in the generation that Moshiach comes, right? And soon after this Techiyas Amesim happens, and they were that kind of person. They never held of themselves. They never put their face in front of your face. They never, you know what I mean? Like, how could they do that to me? You know what I mean? They just lived as like, you know what? Whatever is happening from Hashem. Someone unmute a minute and give me the definition of humility. What is the Torah's definition of humility? Because I think we sometimes confuse it with secular definition. What's the Torah definition of humility?
Put someone in front of you before yourself.
Yeah, okay, so Hashem is definitely right in the front. Sandy, I know you're walking, but could you hear at the same time? Could you answer? I don't know if she can, probably busy.
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, so Sandy, what's the Torah's definition of humility? Like when we say that Moshe was the most humble man, do you remember what it is?
No, I think it's just like Amita just said, it's just that everything comes from Hashem. So.
Okay, everything comes from Hashem. So that's good. Let me just add in a little bit, because that's excellent. It is that way. Everything comes from Hashem. All my good traits. So in other words, Moshe did not go, "Oh, I'm not a good leader. You have to pick." No. Like first he says it, because that's how he felt. And then Hashem says, "No, you are a good leader." And then Moshe says, "Okay, boss." Do you know what I'm saying? So in other words, you have to appreciate that you appreciate who you are. Okay, so you don't have this like syndrome of no, me never, no, me never. No, Hashem gave me certain gifts, but they're Hashem's gifts. So when people go, "Oh, you're the smartest," you go, "Yeah, because Hashem gave me great brains." You're the best writer. Yes, because Hashem gave me the talent to write, right? That's what humility is. Okay, so humility is I recognize all my gifts are from Hashem. Guess what? I also recognize all my nebuchness is from Hashem too. Like, I just don't have a good memory. That's what Hashem gave me. I'll try my best to make it better, but it certainly isn't on par with what average is. I'm a little below average. That's what Hashem gave me. That's humility, to be able to accept it, because those are very hard. For some people, it's hard to accept that they have talent. And for some people, it's very hard to accept that they're average. You know what I mean? They're always trying to go, "No, I'm smarter." You know what I mean? So this is what we're talking about when we have humility. Okay, so it all came from Hashem, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all from Hashem, and I accept it as such, right? So those kinds of people, they won't have to Chalila experience even a minute of death, okay, before this idea. So it's interesting. Why is it that Hashem is so into, you came from dust and you go back to dust? Because they say the four elements of the world, we have them all inside of us. We have water, we definitely have air, we have fire, like the electrolytes, and we also have this body that decomposes and that really came from dust. So they say for it to be completely purified, for all the four elements to really have, done their job in this world, part of it is also passing on and being buried. Okay, right? So again, there's many different perspectives on what's happening here. But right now we believe in this concept of a resurrection, a body and soul that will live together, a body and soul that will not be at odds. It won't be this horrible struggle, but a body that's been purified and a soul that's been purified that will now come together, and hopefully the world will be the world that God wanted right from the get-go, his ultimate creation. You know what I mean? Where we'll live forever and it will be good. Okay, so now where do we see like different sources of resurrection in the Torah? So in Devarim, in chapter 32, verse 39, it says, I cause death and I grant life. Isaiah says, may your dead live and my corpses shall rise. In Daniel, it says, the many who sleep in the dust will awaken. In Exodus, it says, Az Yashir Moshe, which means then Moshe will sing. So really, the Torah tells you then Moshe will sing is when he is resurrected, when he will be partners with Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, come home and see his mishpacha. Like, could you imagine when Moshe Rabbeinu was in? I mean, it's like an amazing idea just to stop for a second and just like get a goosebump of a feeling. Like, imagine here's Moshe, who all he wanted was to take the Jewish people into the land of Israel. You know, finally see the end of the story, like, and see like the Jewish people, what the struggle and how much at the end, you know, he lived to see like a sad moment in time, you know, where the Jews were like, we don't want to go to Israel. We don't want to, you know, we want to stay here in the Midbar. We don't want to, you know, they were afraid, you know, it's giants. It's terrible. We don't want to go, right? And then he will live to see how the Jewish people held on tooth and nail, you know, to come to Israel and to build it and to worship it and to want it. And to, you know, it's like an unbelievable story. They say that will also be a definition of people who will come back, who will be resurrected, will be the people who were so much wanted to see Mashiach, so much wanted to see, you know, the glory of Hashem back in Yerushalayim and the Beis Hamikdash and the Jewish people living there. Like those people, what do we it's one of the questions that you're asked, right? When you pass away, one of the first things is, did you yearn for Mashiach? So those people who really yearned, right? And they died before Mashiach came, they're going to have the merit to see. You could imagine like every Holocaust survivor is resurrected. I'm telling you now, they died completely on Kiddush Hashem. Like every one of them, like it must, it's just such a, in a way, can you see the justice, like why Hashem is doing it? You could see it, right? Because we held on with all this faith and we didn't like, you know, like when you say Shmona Esrei, you say Mogain Avraham. You know, Avraham didn't get to see the prophecies really realized, but he believed them nonetheless. Like he, you know, he passed it on and he said, it's going to be like this. It is going to be true. This is what will happen. It will all be good in the end. And now you will be at the end. So you will see the good. Do you see what's going on? It's like, to me, it makes so much sense. You know, finally, the truth will come. Like we've been blabbing this truth for thousands of years, right? So finally, you'll see it. So in Yecheskel is the valley of the dry bones, right? And then what do we say every day in Shmona Esrei? 3 times a day. Yeah, Baruch Atah Hashem L'chaim Eisim. We say it every single day, because as much as you're waiting for that ultimate resurrection, you're resurrected every day. Every day that you get up and out of your bed, you've been resurrected. You have to appreciate that, right? The higher level of soul, your neshama has been returned to you. You come to consciousness. And not only that, how about all the times like we feel down or we're depressed or we don't feel well, and then Baruch Hashem, we're resurrected, right? The Torah is telling you that this is a very important reality, okay? So different opinions, like what Talia was asking me, like who's going to come back? What about if you don't want to come back, okay? So there's an opinion that says like almost everyone will come back. Second opinion that says people buried in Israel, and therefore, like what we said last night, we're going to have to take the subway tunnel underground to get to Israel. And number 3, we said that people who, you know, who really tried their best to spread the light of Torah, learn Torah. Okay. Now,
even the Rishon come back.
I don't think the Rishayim, but I'm thinking like more like they're talking more like the Benoni type of people. A Russia, you'll see, like I'm going to give you the qualifications of who will not. Okay. There are certain people that, you know, unless they do tshuva, they won't. Okay. So certain people, you have to be to do tshuva. That's what they're really saying here. So who will come back? The people who like were the work in progress, the people who met their goal. Do you know what I mean? People who really care down deep, and they, you know, they did tshuva. They come at the end and they say, you know, Hashem, please forgive me. I didn't want to make mistakes in this lifetime. I really wanted to be on your team. I wish I could have been a better player. You know, like there's got to be a sincerity here. And it makes sense because Talia, why did you really ask me that question?
Two reasons. First of all, I'm not sure if I want to
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Why?
because I like the idea of being in heaven and not worrying about anything.
You're so sweet. Okay, so that it's funny you say that. Okay, because there are. I want you to know there's an opinion like yours. Okay, there's literally like another opinion of the Gedolim that of rabbis who say that they actually say that Tchias HaMesim will not last forever, and finally you'll get to go back and really just be a soul and not have to worry about anything. But it's again, you know what I mean? Again, like I know sometimes it's hard to understand 70 faces to the Torah, especially if they don't sound like they're saying the same thing. But I think it means 70 different possibilities. Do you know what I mean? So I guess it depends on who we are, where we are in the world. As
I didn't mean to challenge it.
No, you're saying a good, true feeling. I hear what you're saying, but I think what we have to understand is the body and soul thing will be a pleasant way. Do you know what I mean? You'll be close to Hashem. It'll be a pleasant life. It won't be this life of, you know, should I or shouldn't I? It'll be the ultimate reward. Do you know what I mean?
Is it all right to ask another question?
Yeah, quick. Sure.
What if you did something that you think that you can't reverse?
Okay, so I think in Torah you can reverse anything, especially while you're still alive.
You can reverse everything?
Yeah. And you might need to speak to, like, if you want to have what we call like a prescription for tshuva, you know, like, you don't feel well, we give you a Tylenol, they give you a tshuva Tylenol. Like it's sometimes good to ask, like, how could I make things better for what I did, you know? Right? Like I remember, who remembers a while ago, like they had it on the Chofetz Chaim Heritage Foundation where this guy, he really realized, like he said terrible lashon hara on somebody by sending a picture of him doing something goofy, and it really ruined the guy's life. Like it wasn't a small story in the end. The guy couldn't find a date. He couldn't get married because everybody would refer back to this picture that was on the internet. Now imagine you were the guy who sent it, right? So finally this guy, he went on like on air and he said, I don't know who you are. It was like a silly picture. You know, that's what's dangerous about this picture taking stuff is sometimes you take a picture and there's somebody in it that you didn't even know. Do you know what I mean? And now you think it's cute. You sent it to your friend and you think it's innocent. Like, I don't know who that guy is, but look what an idiot he made of himself. And your friend goes, oh my gosh, sure do it all. And then he starts sending it out to everybody. Do you see what's going on? So that, like, that's a big boo-boo. That's a very big boo-boo. Like, how do you take that back? So this guy, like, he was looking around like to hold, like he was like advertising everywhere. He went on the Chofetz Chaim Heritage Foundation. He begged people like, just know I did this, never repeat what I did. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes there's a prescription, right, to this tshuva, and you could think it's like a terrible thing, but it isn't. Okay.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
So yesterday you said like every soul goes through rehab.
Mm-hmm.
So then as every soul goes through rehab, it's cleansing itself. So why would some soul not go through
rehab? Okay, so someone, let's say, who was really a Russia, they die a very wicked person. So they do like this. You know what, God? I couldn't care less about you. This is the stupidest joke. And I'm cremating because I don't care. You don't even exist. Okay? So that was the end of the story. Right? Someone says, you know what, God, I don't care about you. I don't care about anything. In fact, life is meaningless and I need money. I'm going to kill someone and I'm going to get the money I need. Do you know what I mean? Like, these are not people that they can even get. Can't even get into rehab. Like, I think this sounds funny, but a person has to merit rehab. And if you're a drug addict, you do too. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I have people in my life who I know who went to rehab. You know what? They stuck it out. They took the dirt. They worked hard. They admitted to their problem. Like, do you know what I mean? You have to merit rehab. But the drug addict who like says, I got nothing wrong, and they live, in the streets for the next 30 years, just smoking whatever they can smoke, right? Till their brains fry. I can't rehab you. I can't rehab you. I think I love what you asked, Talia. I loved it. You know why? Because I can't make you do anything, says God. I can show you, I can give you options, I can talk to you from here till tomorrow, but it's only you who can make the decision. This is the scariest part of everything we do in this world. You go to the doctor and you ask for help. Do you know how many doctors will tell you they give out prescriptions, they tell the patient what to do, and what does the patient do?
Well, don't even listen.
Exactly. They don't even listen. They walk out and they go, I don't. Right? You go to your therapist. Your therapist tells you, do this, do that, do this, write your feelings, blah, blah, blah. What do people do? Nothing. You go to the nutritionist. She writes up 10 different diets for you. What do? Nothing. You go home and eat cheesecake and your pop and your chips, and you stay up all night and watch your Netflix. And then you go back to the dietitian, and what do you say?
It didn't work.
It's not working. Like I had a client, it was the cutest thing. She walks in, she goes, I've been dieting for 6 weeks and I haven't lost a thing. What do you think it is? So I said, oh, I don't know, maybe you have a thyroid problem. So she goes, nope, it's not a thyroid problem. So I go, I don't know, did you sleep enough? No, it's not that. I said, okay, I have one last question. Did you really keep the diet? She goes, no. So you know the answer. That's the reality. That's the reality. Yeah, we're gonna all scream at Hashem, Hashem's gonna say, did you just make the right choice? And we're gonna go, no.
But it's not so easy in life, because it's not.
Say it, please. Like say what you were gonna say. Sorry, Leora.
I was just saying it's not so easy. There's like so many challenges.
Yes. Hashem will know that. Like he knows who you are. He knows what you can do. He knows what you can accomplish. Do you know what I mean? Right? So he'll get it. Right? And as far as we understand, which is probably one of the hardest things to understand, is that he's only wiring you for certain challenges, only the ones that you can pass. And if you feel like so overwhelmed, then it's your greatest hishtadlus, your greatest effort to succeed is to ask Hashem for help. That's it. Number one. That's really your greatest tool. That's the one tool which is so beautiful. God put it in every one of our toolboxes. That's one tool we all share. Do you know what I mean? Like no matter what your struggle, everybody got that tool. That Hashem is available 24/7, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you are, you don't need a secretary to meet him, you don't have to book an appointment 3 years in advance. Everybody's got that tool in their toolbox, right? Okay, so let's see. Okay, so now Yitzchak Hutner, of blessed memory, he said anybody who died on Kiddush Hashem, anyone who is a soldier, anybody who, God forbid, blown up in a terrorist attack, anyone who had any of those things, they are people who died on Kiddush Hashem, and they are people who will merit Tchias HaMesim. Okay, now, one thing that Rav Chaim Kanievsky says, so this is going to be interesting, and we really, all of us, it's an easy way to get into the world to come. Not in the world to come, to get to Tchias HaMesim. And Rav Chaim Kanievsky actually feels like if you didn't do this part, it's going to be very hard for you to be resurrected. So that's an interesting idea. So what am I talking about? So Rav Chaim Kanievsky says we have to eat malava malka. Anybody know what I'm talking about?
The third meal.
Yeah, no, not even third. Fourth. Okay, so what is it? So let's just go through a little bit of what malava malka is. Okay, so first of all, when Shabbos comes, so there really is a hierarchy of holiness in the meals. Okay, so it's very interesting. The holiest meal, they say, is shalosh seudos. Why is shalosh seudos such a holy meal? Because you're really full. Okay, you're pushing the button. So you're pushing the button here by shalosh seudos. You really tell Hashem, I'm really, really eating totally l'shem shamayim. I'm really eating just because you're telling me that this is a very holy time, and I'm going to add a little bit more to my celebration. You don't have to pig out. It's not like Hashem says 10-course meal. You should wash again, right? You could have a little piece of fish or a fruit or something. It is nicest to wash. I know you can get away with eating a fruit, but really the truth is, if you can afford to have the challah, like as affordability as in money, not as in calories, you should have it. And you don't have to have a giant loaf of challah. You can have like whatever. It's a small little piece that makes you yotze, that makes you, be able to bench and wash. So that's one meal. But even after that, there's something very great, which it's something really, you have to appreciate it. It's hard, but there's a concept in Judaism that when you have a guest, you should escort them out. And I think it's hard for us to understand because we have electricity, you know what I mean? And usually a guest came by their car and they're going down the driveway, you know what I mean? And you have the lights on, you've put ice on your you put salt on your driveway. So you don't think like, big spritz, like bye, you'll be safe getting into the car. But imagine once upon a time what it was, all right? Like, it was scary. So people would escort their guests, like, they would know where the bush is and this is. So they would like escort them out of the house and down the driveway to a safe place. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's a big, big thing about escorting that guest. So Shabbos is the queen's, the Shabbos queen comes to visit you. And now she's leaving. Malava Malka means to escort the queen. That's exactly what the words mean, Malava Malka, to escort the queen. So what you're saying is, Shabbos, yay, Shabbos is over, let's get pizza, we're going bowling, what are you doing? No, you're saying, oh, Shabbos is over. Shucks, could you just spend a little more time with me and then I'll escort you out? That's what it means, okay? So I just want to tell you, when it comes to Malava Malka, yes, you could wash again. And that probably would be the best way to do it. Or you could have cookie, or you could just have tea. Like just having a hot tea and saying this is the hot tea is for Malava Malka, is for this mitzvah, will help you. Okay, I'm just like waving to your cutie. Okay, he's too cute. Okay, so will help you with this resurrection. So why? Okay, so because they say the spirituality of this food and this moment and the energy that you have put in feeds a bone in your body that your resurrection will start from. That's an interesting idea. Okay, so it's called the lose bone. Now, some people say it's the back where the tefillin strap is strapped. Here's like the front, and then the back, the strap is tied back here. So some people say that lose bone is down here, and some people say it's at the end of the spine. But whatever it is, this food and this mitzvah that you have done is nourishment for that part of the body. So it's an interesting idea because that's what we say, right? Like every mitzvah nourishes a different, right? There's 613 mitzvahs and 613 bones and organs and sinews, and they're all nourished, right, by the mitzvah. So this mitzvah called Malava Malka, according to Rav Chaim Kanievsky, he's telling you that this is extremely important and that this should be eaten and that this is going to help you with this resurrection. Okay, so it's just important. I really like he mamish, he like really pushes the envelope here. Okay, now, okay, we said this. Okay, so now remember you said so who would not be resurrected? So these are the people who did not do tshuva before they passed on. People who said, I do not believe in Hashem. People who said, I do not believe in the Torah as authentic. There's many people who Nebuch will say, yeah, the Torah is a book, was written by men. I don't believe it really was Moshe went to sign. Like that stuff is garbage. It's just a bunch of old rabbis. They got together. They wrote a bunch of rules and some silly stories, and they're trying to push it on us forever. Okay? So those people, it would not be good for them. Anyone who, this is also an interesting idea, an informer. What's an informer? A Jew who got other Jews into trouble by telling the government on the other Jews. That's a scary thing, an informer, okay? Anyone who publicly sins on purpose, likes to go, who cares? You know what I mean? Walks around on Yom Kippur eating and going, why wouldn't you? This is yeah, everyone should be doing that. And anybody who encourages other people to do sins. Okay, so anyone who encourages other people to do sins is also a problem. Okay, people who rebel against Hashem. Okay, all right. And people, this is an interesting idea. Jewish people who knew no better, or on purpose lent money to other Jews for interest. Okay, so there's a big thing in the Torah, like you should not lend money to a Yid, another Jewish person, and ask him to pay interest on that loan. Okay, so that's an interesting idea. Again, if you do tshuva, it's good. If you don't, that's a different story. Okay, all right. Okay, so now here comes the big question that tons of people ask is this idea of reincarnation, right? Which we haven't learned 100% yet. We don't know that's going to be in the other class, right? Life after death class, life after life class. We'll learn more about resurrection. But what does anyone have I'm curious to hear your understandings on resurrection. So what do you think, like resurrection and Torah, how do you meet them together? How do they come together? What is it? What is resurrection and Torah? Yeah, try. Like it's just good to hear. You don't feel
your soul is so pure after that. Like in
okay. Oh no, I'm sorry, not resurrection. You're 100% right. You answered so well. I meant reincarnation. The big question about I'm sorry, guys. I kept saying the wrong word. The real question that everyone has is if we are reincarnated souls, who's coming back? Right? Like you have this big soul and splintered into these different little pieces, right? Like we say it's like a branch, and on the branch there's more little branches, like when you see one big branch and then you see like smaller branches, and right? So that's what we say. Okay, so we're these reincarnated souls. So what's happening? Like who's going to come back? So
who did not complete what God
okay. So a couple answers, very interesting. Okay, so let's say there was this one soul, and every soul that's coming down, it wants to reach its perfection. It wants to have, helped in history and the destiny, and it wants to have done what it had to do. Okay, so it does 20%, and now there's a lot more that has to get done, 80%. So then another little piece of that soul goes into this body, and he does 20%, and then another part goes into another body and he does another 20%, and then another part goes into another body and he does another 20%, until all the little pieces have done the collection of 100%. So some people say each one of those bodies with those sparks will come back, because together the group accomplished what that one light needed to accomplish. So they'll all come back because everybody put their effort in, and where they fell short, someone else picked up the ball. Do you see what I'm saying? And they finished it. So if everybody at the end, what it reminds me of? Like the relay race, right? Like what happens at the end? It's very cute when you think about it. Like the last person goes, touches the other side of the wall, runs back, and then everybody gets to sit down. And it was a team effort, and that team wins. So that's what it would be like. It's a good idea. Like it's a nice idea. Okay. So that's some of the Meforshim. That's what some of them say. Okay. So some of the rabbis say that's what's going to happen. Okay. Or the one who accomplished the most will be resurrected. That's what they're saying. Okay. So I'm not sure. Again, different possibilities, different situations, and only Hashem will be able to tell. That's like none of us will know. Did we do 10%? Did we do 20? Did we do 3? Like none of us will know. That's what I call Hashem's business. Okay, that's Hashem's geschäft. That's Hashem's.
And we come back in another body.
We'll come back. Like let's say no. I think we'll come back as what? Like yeah, we'll come back as this body. I'll come back. You know what I mean? You'll come back as Leora, I'll come back as Gail. And then let's say we were like, when they call you like soul sisters. Okay. So maybe, there were other soul sisters out there, and we'll be like, between all 5 of us, we made 100%. All the sparks are glowing. Okay. Do you see what I'm saying? And the whole team is rewarded. Do you see what I mean? The whole team made it. Okay. So that's what we're saying. It's just very interesting. Now, here's something very interesting. Like many people, unfortunately, have experienced miscarriages and things like that. So sometimes you wonder, like, whatever happened to that? Was that a viable anything? Was there, because they say like a soul came down, right? A soul came down, right? When something was conceived, a soul and the beginning of a body, right? Something was put into something and lived in this world. So the Torah tells you that this will all come back. Okay, so it's very interesting. How do they know? So in Gemara and Sanhedrin, Rabina asked, how old does a child have to be merit to go to Gan Eden? Isn't that interesting? How old? So the answer is as soon as it's conceived. So Rashi says, if that's the case, so even if the mother miscarries the child still has a share in the world to come. It's a very beautiful idea. How they will come out, I have no idea. Okay, so a pure soul that comes down, right, and is put into a body, even for a fleeting time. Many times they say that that's also the completion of that soul. Do you know what I'm saying? It's the completion of its mission. That's all. It was a very short mission. It was a very short completion, sometimes just to nurse from a Jewish mother, just to, sometimes it's a very short stint, right? But it completed what it needed. It was a very little bit of extra purity or whatever it was that it was missing, right? And we have to understand, like, if you think about it, when chas v'shalom anybody has a miscarriage, usually what happens, you think about tshuva, you think about being a better person. People feel sorry for you. People daven for you. You daven, they daven. Do you see what I mean? Like, certain energies are put into the world in the merit of what happened. Do you know what I'm saying? That are positive. Do you see?
Is that a kapara for you?
It's like you had an opportunity. Is it a kapara for you? Like, they sometimes say it's literally an opportunity. It's like you had a Shabbos guest and they went home. I don't know if it's always a kapara. Could be it's a kapara for you also. Do you know what I mean? If you take it the right way, it could be also, right? But sometimes it really is a merit to you that you merited to house this little thing for a little while, and you gave it whatever it needed to finish its tachlis, whatever it needed to fill that soul 100%. And now that soul goes back to the world to come. And in the merit of what happened, good things could have happened. So really, it's scary, but it's a lesson to learn. Do you know what I mean? That whenever you can take a situation that can be very heartbreaking and very negative, and yes, you feel the pain, and yes, you're entitled to feel pain, and yes, it is hard, but to still underlining from it, take on something good, turn it into something good, then you did the greatest thing you could do for that little child. Do you see what I mean? Or for that little fetus, or for that, whatever you want to call it, for that little life. Do you see what I mean? Okay. And they have their place in Gan Eden. So that's like amazing. So it could be, by the resurrection, people are going to be really surprised. Like, who are you? So I don't know, what size or what shape, I have no idea. Okay. Let me see. So now that you heard that, now you hear why it is very against Torah to abort. Do you see? Because by us, life starts very early. Do you know what I mean? Do you see what I'm saying? And so to abort something like this intentionally would be considered something, I'm going to use the word. It's not a nice word. It's not an easy word, but it's considered murder. So you have to be very careful. So, you know what I mean? So it's not something to be taken lightly. Can abortion take place in Judaism? 100%. If the mother is at risk, or she could chalila die, or she has cancer and they have to treat her and blah, 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 100%. There's no question. Okay. But just, it's inconvenient. It's this, it's that. That's a serious reality by us, right? And today, when you're looking at abortion, even after a baby is born, right, or in the 9th month, or at birth, that is considered murder. Do you know what I mean? And that, it would only be that would be in a circumstance only, I don't know. I don't even know. Like, it's only, I guess, if the mother's life would be in line. You know what I mean? That would be a problem. Okay. So now, so I'm going to do one little bit more, and then we're going to have to do our prayer. Let me just see. Okay, was there anything that we want? Yeah. Okay, so this is the last thing I'm going to say. So it's just an interesting idea. So there is a very famous, in the Gemara, you'll see it a lot of times. There was a very famous Roman emperor. His name was Antoninus. And Antoninus used to learn with one of the great rabbis, Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi. And this is the time of the Romans, okay? Now, the Romans and the Jews didn't do so well together, okay? And that's why in the end, the Romans destroyed the Second Temple. So it's not that this was an easy partnership. It's It's a crazy story. The story was that when Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi was a very young boy, I think he was just 8 days old, maybe 9, okay? It was during the time where they forbade that bris, okay? And it was told to the emperor of Rome that this Jewish mother and father had done a bris on their baby. And as they were going to Rome to see the emperor and to be executed for this and the baby killed for this, Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi's mother met this I'm going to say it. What did I just say? Antinonus, right? What was his name? Antinunus or whatever. Okay, she met his mother, and he was exactly the same birthday as Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi. He was also a tiny little infant, okay? He was a tiny little boy, and he was the exact same age. And she asked her, what are you doing here? Where are you going? What's happening to you in Rome? And she's told the whole story, like, we're going to be executed, and so is our baby because we gave a bris. And this woman took pity on her, and she said to her, you know what? Give me your baby, and you take mine. You take mine in front of the emperor, and this way I will save your child and you. And you say you didn't circumcise him, look, and you show the baby. So what happened while this was happening, right? He started crying, the little baby Antinonus, and he started crying. So guess what? She nursed him. She nursed him because it was like the same, right? Everybody's having the same baby. So her Jewish milk, and in the merit of who this mother was, that she did such a selfless act, she could have been killed if they would have found that out, right? He ended up growing to be very close to Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, and he would learn with him, and he would ask him incredible questions, and you'll see it in the Gemara, the two of them debating. So he said, once a person dies, why does Hashem have to pick on him so much? Why can't it be that the soul goes to Hashem and says, listen, I'm dead already, okay? Like, I don't have a body, right? There's only me. I'm not making any more trouble, okay? I'm a good soul now. There's no temptation. And the body, instead of judging the body and saying to the body what it has to, repair, the body should just say to Hashem, listen, I'm dead. There's nothing I can do now. I'm in the ground. Leave me alone. That's what he asked him. He said, like, a serious question. So he said, listen, I'll answer to you with a mushal, okay? Once was this like beautiful garden, okay? Beautiful, beautiful garden. King owned, had fruit trees and all kinds of wonderful things in it, right? And he had a guard. He said, tell the guard you should guard the garden. Hey, the guards guarding the garden. And this 2 men walk by. One can barely move. He mamish can barely move. Okay, very bad mover. The other one's with a white cane. He's blind. Okay, so he's looking at these people and they're staring at the trees and this and that. And this gardener's like, yeah, nothing bad could happen. What's the big deal? And he falls asleep. Okay, so the 2 guys, the blind guy, he hears the guy who's limping around, who can barely walk. He's saying, oh my gosh, the fruit is so beautiful and so luscious. So the blind guy says, look, I got an idea. Okay, I can't see, but I can walk. So you come on top of me, I'll hoist you up, and you tell me, like, go to the right or go to the left or push me this way or push me that way. Then I'll take. Okay, so he takes all the fruits down and they eat it. And now the guy wakes up, the guard, and he's like looking around. He says, oh my gosh, look what happened. You know what I mean? Like, there's stuff missing from the trees, right? And then the king rides over and the king's like, what's going on here? And he looks up and he sees also, oh my gosh, there's stuff missing. And the guard goes, I don't know, I can't explain it. And these 2 guys are standing there and they're like, don't look at us. How can we do anything? I can barely move and I'm blind. So then the king says, don't give me that garbage. I have an idea. You, the blind guy, carried over the lame guy and he told you where the fruits were. So this is what Hashem says to the body and the soul. Don't give me your garbage. I know what you've done in the past. Maybe now you can't do anything, but we're still talking about what happened before. Okay. So these are just, very interesting ideas. They're lofty. I can't tell you that they're the simplest things to understand. I don't feel like they are, and we'll learn more about them next week. But they're part of the 13 principles of faith. And what we say in Judaism is Hashem gave us a little peephole of an understanding, a little tam, a little taste of what the reality is. But this reality is a very beautiful reality. A beautiful reality. It's the end of days, and it's a beautiful reality, right? You will see justice. You'll see when I go on, you'll see more. But you will be part of an incredible rebirth. And you know what, Talia? Maybe your shidduch will be found there. Maybe there's other single amazing guy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a life that will be full, right? It just won't have the struggles. Adam and Chava were meant to live together in the garden. Do you know what I'm saying? They were meant to have a family. They were meant to live together. So it will be the life without the Do you see what I'm trying to say? That's what it would be. Okay, with the clarity. So time for thank you prayer, right, Amita? So let me stop the recording. Okay, stop.